The two Shylocks of Indian politics. Welcome, Vanakkam, Namaskaram, Swagatham. The next union budget is keenly awaited. And what will be noticed with particular interest is the extent to which Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar of Andhra Pradesh and Bihar, respectively, will be able to extract their pound of flesh from Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. It's far too obvious to need any special mention that when political parties join hands to form a coalition, particularly in precarious situations where a dominant political party by itself does not have the numbers to form its government and is dependent on smaller regional parties. The parties thus enable the national party to form a government naturally think that they are kingmakers, and therefore they are entitled to a much larger consideration and a heavier reward than otherwise they would qualify themselves for. We really do not know what backdoor negotiations took place between the BJP leaders on the one hand and Nitish Kumar, Chandrababu Naidu on the other. We would be foolish to think that no negotiations took place and the support extended by Nitish and Chandrababu Naidu is mere charity. They did not want India to be in a political limbo, and therefore the interest of the people of India, they decided to enable BJP to form a government merely to provide good governance, the kind of good governance that we have been receiving for the last 10 years. And therefore, there are no strings attached. People of this country are not that naive to swallow this canard. We know that there is a price. There are no free lunches. There is a price to be paid, and BJP will have to cough up that price. But two special issues come to the fore in this context. And my intention here is merely to flag these two issues because these issues are really going to loom large in our political national horizon in the near future. We don't have to wait long to see it happen. The first issue is, to what extent would Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar be ethically right in exacting the pound of flesh that they have in mind? That's the reason why I somewhat provocatively used the title, The Shylocks of Indian Politics. In Shakespeare's play Merchant of Venice, Shylock, the Jew, emerges as a heartless transactor of business who is interested only in his own gains and is unmindful of the cost or the toll it takes on others. Everybody is, in a way, motivated by self interest, but the degree and extent of self interest vary depending on the extent of concern or regard that we have for others. So, if a person is completely free from any consideration for others, then his selfishness would go berserk. That's the point in Merchant of Venice. And then, of course, Shakespeare counterpoints that with a particular clever piece of argument, and the avaricious, heartlessly avaricious Jew is raised on his own petard. So I have that at the back of my mind in ascribing this label to these two shrewd politicians, the Palturam of Bihar and the suave, sophisticated, extremely efficient, one-time kingmaker of Indian politics, Chandrababu Naidu, who was singularly responsible for giving India one of the greatest presidents we have ever had or ever will have, namely Sri APJ Abdul Kalam. At that time, PC Alexander was picked by Vajpayee. Alexander was at that time the governor of Maharashtra. He was made to resign from that post on the assurance given by the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee that he would be the NDA candidate for the highest office in this country, the highest ceremonial office, that is, the President of India. But then Chandrababu Naidu was at that time the kingmaker, intervened, and he, for his political reasons, in order to keep a very sizable chunk of the Muslim population appeased, particularly in the city of Hyderabad. He insisted that only Muslims should be the president of India because it was in the wake of the Gujarat riots, which otherwise would have alienated him from the Muslim voters in the undivided Andhra Pradesh, which would have been politically very costly for him. But that's a brief story. So, these two are known to be very smooth operators, particularly sharp, smart, and they will go to any extent to have their way. But in this present instance, they'll have to do with two customers who are, in fact, if anything, smarter than them, the Amit Shah, Narendra Modi combined. So it would be very interesting to see as to what extent they will have their way, because that will tell us in very unmistakable terms the extent of helplessness or vulnerability that Narendra Modi and Amit Shah experience at the present point in time. Under normal circumstances, they are extremely difficult customers to deal with. But if their state of political precariousness is extreme, then Chandrababu Naidu and Bihar's Palturam will be quick to see their opportunity and they will go in for the kill. But there are two issues emerging from this, and that's the only thing I want to highlight. First is, and this is something that I address to Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar. Both of them need to realize that the budget of India is supported by the taxpayers' money. This is not BJP's party wealth. This is not Sangh Parivar's legacy or private property. The budget of India is situated on the taxpayers' money. Even a beggar is paying indirect tax. When you buy any item, even a pencil, even a loaf of bread, you're paying tax. So the money that the government of India has is the cumulative effect of the taxes that the people of India pay. So, given that, isn't it downright immoral for a party in power or a coalition in power to share that as spoils among themselves, and for the BJP to use it as a means to purchase political loyalty from two parties in particular who are very, very sharp bargainers? Now, on the part of Nitish Babu and Chandrababu Naidu Garu, shouldn't they think how immoral it is on their part to demand an unjustifiably excessive proportion of the national budget for the sake of their states, knowing fully well that that would handicap all other states and they will be thriving at the expense of other states and union territories? If Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish are making claims about the private wealth either of the BJP ministers or of the Sangh Parivar, we would have absolutely no problem with it. We wish them well. But what they're demanding is, what they would be demanding, is an unfair and unjustifiable extent or portion of the national budget The budget, which is created out of the monies that every one of us has contributed, the taxpayer as a whole, which therefore is not something that the BJP can use in order to keep its coalition members appeased by paying them what in effect is substantial bribe, but looks like some kind of special package for the state. Now we can understand that if a special package for Bihar or Andhra Pradesh had been announced prior to the elections based on sound economic and fiscal policies and political commitments made at some point or the other, then it's a commitment to be honored. But if this idea that two regional parties who are necessary for the survival of the NDA government in the center have to be paid excessive amounts out of the national funds just to keep them well humored so that their support for the government can be purchased, is that not a bribe being paid? And is that not bribe being paid out of the taxpayers' money? In which case, is that not downright immoral? This is a question that every citizen has the right to ask. It's immoral on the part of the government, it's immoral on the part of the parties to pressurize the government for such a large chunk. Because depending on the chunk that they bargain and secure for themselves, allocations for other states and other welfare activities will shrink. For what we know, they would actually be robbing the poor of this country because, after all, when the money available after the ambitions of two states are met is small, the allocation for the poor, the needy, would be minimized far in excess of what is a proportionate allocation of welcome, because the interests of the rich, the economic, social, ruling elite will always be protected. And when there are resource constraints, it is the needs of the poor that are affected. So, in effect, what Chandrababu Naidu and Bihar's Nitish Kumar would be doing is to rob the underprivileged, the poorer sections of the society, and also states that may need urgent help, legitimate help, allocations that are their due as per the formula agreed upon. So this is one issue, and this issue I address particularly to Nitish Babu and Chandrababu Naidu Garu. It's immoral on their part to use the peculiarities of the political context today to demand a far greater chunk of the national wealth, taking advantage of the political compulsions or helplessness of BJP as a party that is desperate to perpetuate itself in power, which makes the party weak and vulnerable. And these two regional parties would be doing the most unethical thing of taking advantage of this helplessness, this brittleness, this vulnerability of a party that they apparently support and a party that they believe merits to be in power. If they merit to be in power, then they should not trouble that party at all. Otherwise, the only message they send out to the people of India who are wise enough to understand these things is that they are the most unscrupulous elements in India who have no conscience problems in catching BJP by its throat in a situation of its vulnerability and helplessness in order to exact the maximum out of that party. So it's downright immoral. It's also unjust to the other states, and it's unfair towards the citizens of India in general. It's a serious interference with the process of nation building. It is an attempt to prioritize the ambitions of two states over the welfare of the country, the future of the country, the progress and the health of the country. This is unpatriotic, this is immoral, this is unethical. It cannot be countenanced, it cannot be accepted It cannot be justified in any way whatsoever. Of that, there is no doubt. The second issue is this: the BJP has been very vocal of late about the immorality of using freebies. And this was particularly deployed against Arvind Kejriwal because of the various pro-people measures his government has been initiating, beginning in Delhi, now spreading into Punjab. And if that party manages to secure power in other states, the same process will continue. This case is already in the Supreme Court. The desirability, the defensibility, or otherwise of freebies, using freebies. Now, what constitutes freebies is a matter of context, matter of definition, matter of the particular slanted opinion that is created. Very often, whatever a party does in order to promote its interests, targeting certain vote banks will not be freebies. That will be pro-poor measures. Whereas a rival party doing the same will be discredited as distributing freebies, and distributing freebies is considered to be a crime against the economic robustness of a country, and a lot of public indignation will be whipped up. And we have been silent witnesses to this double standard, this political hypocrisy. And now the time has come for us to face the reality. If Modi and Shah succumb to the pressures of Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu Garu, and in order to keep them appeased, they give an excessive proportion of national wealth to these two states. Would that come or not come within the idea of freebies? It depends on what you define as what you consider to be freebies. In my opinion, it's freebies. Whatever is not legitimate, justified as per a common formula of allocation, that particular portion which is in excess of what is the natural, logical, normal entitlement must be considered freebies. So, will the BJP and the nation will be looking with keen eyes to get an answer, to see an answer emerge from the budget? Will the BJP resort to freebies in order to keep these two regional kingmakers pleased so that its government can be propped up in power? Is the use of freebies legitimate, morally right, in order to help oneself? And is it repugnant only when somebody else uses it to their advantage? Is there a consistent idea of what constitutes freebies? And is there some kind of objective political morality attached to it? It is a question that we are very keen to ask. There is a supplementary question to this, the second question, supplementary to the second question, and that is, the BJP has been crying hoarse about the appeasement of vote banks, Muslim appeasement, Christian appeasement. I've had the occasion to work with the central government. I've looked at this issue with a microscope, not just from the point of view of the elite sections of these two communities, but from the perspective of the vast majority of the people who constitute these two communities. And I can tell you, this idea of appeasement of religious minorities is the grandest of all lies. For all the appeasement that has happened over 70 years, these two communities are in a pretty pathetic situation. I don't want to go into details. Now, if Modi, Amit Shah combine, gives into the tantrums of the Paltu Ram of Bihar and Chandrababu Naidu Garu of Andhra Pradesh, will they be resorting to appeasement politics? Why would they give an excessive share of national wealth to these two states, these two parties, these two political leaders, if not to keep them appeased? Or does this concept of appeasement apply only to the religious minorities and not to political parties? What is appeasement? What is not appeasement? What is the morality or immorality of appeasement? These are questions to which answers are needed. The people of India would be very, very keen to have these questions faced squarely and answered honestly. We don't have to wait for long. These questions are sure to come to the fore in the near future when the union budget is presented by Nirmala Sitharaman. And I understand that hectic work is in progress to give final touches to the keenly awaited budget. So at that time, as a run up to that process, I thought I would flag these issues because all of us are interested in understanding national realities from a non-partisan, objective and truthful perspective. And therefore, to us, these issues are real, they're important, and they cannot be brushed aside. So thank you for your attention, and let's look forward to the forthcoming union budget. Jai Hind.